Pep Guardiola, the manager who revolutionized football with 2009 in Barcelona and 2011 in Barcelona, he did something incredible in 2023. He made Manchester City win the treble in 2023. System so perfect, it controlled games, killed defenses, killed midfielders, and killed the biggest teams in Europe. It wasn't Pep Guardiola's usual football. It was literally something new. It was something called the upgraded tiki-taka version of Pep Guardiola's football. After the 22-23 season, the Manchester City's team was looking very, very good on paper. They had signed a new striker, they had signed Jack Grealish from Aston Villa, they had signed Erling Haaland from Borussia Dortmund, who had performed consistently for Dortmund for the last 2 seasons. Now, when Erling Haaland came in Manchester City, there were debates that he would be good, he won't be good in Premier League, he can't adopt the Premier League, but nobody was ready for what was coming next. Erling Haaland that season did something literally incredible. He scored 52 goals in his 53 appearances for Manchester City in all competitions, and he did broke the British goal record held by Alan Shearer the same season. But talking about Manchester City, this team won the treble that season. That means, who doesn't know what treble is, it is the European, it is a football club. When a football club wins literally everything, that's what you call a treble. Stock tactical now. On paper, it looked a normal 4-3-3 formation with you have Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, Akanji, Stones in the back. Then you had John Stones, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, or Ilkay Gundogan, then Erling Haaland, Foden, and Mahrez in the lineup, who were pretty simple because there was nothing incredible in this team. Yeah, maybe the players were good, but still the formation was pretty same. But there was one thing that Pep Guardiola did this season that changed their entire complexity of the game. That was changing the shape during different times of the game. It was when City lose the ball, they were in a 4-3-3 formation. But when they had the possession, they turned into a 3-2-4-1 formation. 3-2 formation consisted of Nathan Ake, Ruben Diaz, Manuel Akanji, John Stones, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan, Erling Haaland, Jack Grealish, and Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, and Riyad Mahrez too. So this changed the entire complexity of the game, because let's say their opponents were Liverpool. Now Jurgen Klopp was preparing for a different formation. He was preparing for a 4-3-3, so he was man marking all the players, but Pep Guardiola ended up with something different. So now in the game, when during the formation of the play or the position, when you change the entire shape of your game, it is difficult. It is very difficult when you change the formation. You have to change the sections of the players where they like to play. Now this happened. Liverpool or Manchester United or whatever the team faced them, it became hard for them because they had to mark players one by one, and from the other end they had to leave space. That really created problems for the other team. Now, in the midst of all this, there was one thing. Now obviously when there were 10 or 20 games in the season, the team started noticing this, and now they started to change their formation, do tactical analysis of Manchester City again. But there was one trick which changed the entire show for Manchester City that season, and it was one player who did it. John Stones. His name was John Stones, the England defense center back playing in the midfield. This was Pep Guardiola's tactic. When you look at this heat map of John Stones, you can see he's a defender. But here you can look at it clearly that his heat map clearly shows that he's, what the hell is he doing in the midfield? This was Pep Guardiola's basic plan against the big teams like Manchester United or Liverpool, because they didn't know that John Stones would transform into a midfielder and leave the space behind him. Now they were three at the back. Because of this, City had more control, they had more passes, and as we all know, Pep Guardiola likes to control the game. If he doesn't have possession, he will be angry, and he wants his player to stay at compact shapes. He doesn't want his team or his formation to lose any kind of shapes. So in attack, so there we can sum up his tactical analysis of Manchester City 2022 in 3 words. I think that is, you change your formation when we are in possession. You have 4-3-3 during attack. You had four defenders, 3 midfielders, 3 attackers, and normal. But when you had the possession, what happened is that Rodri and John Stones were up in deep in the midfield, and then there were Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish, and all their attackers up front. And there were chances. And actually, we have to appreciate John Stones here, because it is not easy to transform from a defender to a midfielder and then back as a defender. You need high stamina. I think this was a season, because he played 60 games this season, and next season he got injured, and till now he is injured. I don't know where the hell he is, but this season was really the transforming season for Manchester City. This is the entire roadmap of, now this is the entire sitting defenders of the team. Now let's talk about attack. He attacked with structure. but they killed with chaos. Grealish and Bernardo Silva, they stretched the pitch wide. That means they operated a wider of the pitches. That what did they do is that allowed Ilkay Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne to play in half spaces and leave a huge chunk of space for Rodri or for John Stones to come up. And this was one of the dangerous stats for them, because it's either kill or it's either lose, because then the team can, counter attack against you and score in minutes. But that's where John Stones, Akanji, Ake, all those defenders with a huge stamina, with Ruben Diaz. Then for the attack, they had Haaland, the brutal striker who just wanted the ball on his foot in the box. And there were 9 players for him who could deliver it for him. Ruben Diaz was a good passer. Let's talk about Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker has a great passing ability. Then there was De Bruyne with 110 passing. Ilkay Gundogan was there, Silva was there, so it was easy for Haaland. And actually, I think 22-23 Manchester City has the greatest tactical analysis, maybe of all time, because this is a tactical masterpiece. When you look at the tactics, he actually divided the pitch in different sections for each players. Now, Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish, they actually people said that Jack Grealish didn't do good, but he created the most chances by a British player in Champions League that season. Grealish and Bernardo Silva were the width holders. You can call them the width holders because they were playing wide up the pitch. Then De Bruyne and Gundogan were the half space creators. Let's talk why this team was different from the old Manchester City. First of all, they didn't have Haaland. Now, people will tell me, if Haaland, just one player coming in will make a huge difference. Obviously, he was a 9. Maybe they had Gabriel Jesus, but he was in and out. He was injured. So they had to transform a false 9. It was Aguero sometimes or Foden. So they didn't have a proper striker. That really didn't allow them to shift shapes like they did in that season, because they didn't have a proper striker to stay at the top. They had to convert their wingers into the strikers. That's the false 9. And that's why coming in Haaland was the biggest, success for Manchester City. Till now, he has scored a lot of goals for them, 100 goals, over 100 goals for them. Because of this, all this tactical, analysis, and all this tactical refinery by Pep Guardiola, they won the treble. They won the FA Cup by defeating United. They won the league by defeating Arsenal. They won the Champions League by defeating Inter in that final. Actually, the Inter versus Manchester City final I could make a separate video on that, a 20-minute video on that, because it was another tactical masterpiece. In that game too, John Street didn't play as a defender. He came up to the midfield, and he didn't also play as a CDM. He played as a CM. And that allowed Aki and Akanji to come forward, and then they absolutely dominated the entire game. They only scored one goal because Inter on the other side, they also had a good tactical plan against them, but they were unlucky. Otherwise, Lautaro Martinez could have scored. And then they won the Carabao Cup too. So this was a season which was incredible for Man City and incredible for Pep Guardiola. And I still think that it's very underrated. It is a very underrated season for City fans, but it's one of the greatest season, one of the most tactically infamous seasons of all time by Pep Guardiola.